When he gave that press conference as the previous governor of the central bank, when Governor Williams gave the press conference on the 30th of January 2009, it was a Friday, in his own words, in his prepared press release, speaking to the problems of the CL Financial Group that caused the greatest financial disaster in the history of the Caribbean, the governor said, we have known about this problem for 5 years. It's there in the first paragraph, on the bottom of the first page. It's okay?
Yes.
And we couldn't deal with it because the phrase he used, we were stymied by the challenge of change. I memorize the paragraph. He was stymied by the challenge of change, which is a euphemism.
But that came out in that liquidity report that Ramesh and they leaked long time before.
Yes.
And so we all knew that the politics.
Yes.
You know.
No, the microphone. But the point I am making in terms of those of us who are seekers after meaning.
Yes.
We have to understand what are the specific reasons that the Governor Rambaran has been dismissed. And I no doubt that will be ventilated in litigation and the press and so on. We have to compare and contrast that with Governor Williams serving out his term of office. And in fact, now being loaded with high honors, he was awarded UWI's first distinguished fellow. Fatima College just gave him a big thing 2-3 months ago, and so on and so on. What kind of place is this? And then we have to project forward, having taken those two bearings. We have to project forward to the 25th of January, which is where my case to get all the information about all the money paid in the bailout comes to court. Because in fact, if we are going to take a strict line against the information about the foreign exchange used by a conglomerate, in other words, the financial details of a conglomerate are considered to be important to protect with banking law, well then how in heaven's name could we give out Tanti Merle's information, which is what Afra Raymond wants on the 25th of January. We are looking forward to a battle on the 25th of January. This is a very important question about the importance of information, the meaning of information, and whose money it really is.
We will be watching that. Let me get the final word on this governor situation, which is probably the final word this morning. Rhoda, you get the final cut on this.
Look at that. We're looking at laws and we're looking at process here. I don't think that it is strange to have an acting president revoke or appoint people, right? Because previous regimes have done that. Timothy Hamel-Smith was used very effectively by the past government, and I'm sure previous acting presidents were used just as effectively. You're also looking at here, in the case of Rambaran's firing, what are all of the details and conditions that led up to him? What is his responsibility and role as a central bank governor? How did he breach those things? How is that linked to the laws that have been detailed? Because you have Rolf Balgobin, you have Terence Farrell building cases. You have Anthony Wilson fairly recently in The Guardian also explaining why he needed to be fired. And now, of course, you have the former governor himself refuting all of these things and saying this is why he doesn't need to be fired. And one particular detail that people seem to keep missing is that this whole business of his firing was brought forward by the Minister of National Security. Right? The Minister of National Security's name features in that cabinet note. So is it that there are criminal elements involved in this move to fire the central bank governor?
Plot indeed thickens. In thanking all my guests, let me go around the table, and I'm going to do this I really just need 30-second answers on this one. We have seen a couple of things happen here as we go into the new year. Is it true that the force is no longer with us, the cop has been fired, and the UNC is in trouble? How do you read? Let me just start from you, Rhoda, and just go around the table and thanking you, Rhoda Bharath.
Well, thanks for having me here. What was the question again?
The force is no longer with us. The cop has been fired.
The force was never with us. The COP, I'm not sure precisely what the COP was beyond a way to dress up the UNC and make the UNC palatable to the voting public.
And after the internal elections, what about the UNC?
After the internal elections, I think that the UNC is actually weaker now than it was before the internal elections. And that's my final word.
Rhoda Bharath, thank you so much. Afra?
Okay, well, I think that I would agree that the UNC's responses as an opposition have been recently very disappointing. I would have expected more clarity and more of a voice from them, and certainly the country needs to be on a sort of a special alert when we have a scenario with a very diminished opposition. So we all have to be careful, which is why I started off with this sort of half-baked joke about the hurdles and JU and the perfume ambition going forward into 2016. We have to rise above those hurdles and keep running. because next year is going to be very challenging.
And to think that I was born on Hammersmith Street in Leventhal. The force is gone. I'm sorry. Sunity, question on the force, the COP and the UNC in conclusion.
I will simply say there's a huge political vacuum, and nature not liking vacuums. I would encourage every individual to step forward and be that alert voice on behalf of Trinidad and Tobago.
I hear you. Thank you so much. Dr. James.
Well, we have to build rational politics in the country. Suniti, I want to just adopt something that you've said earlier, that, we really have to have real politics happening with people owning constituencies, having people who support and back them and whom they represent, which we don't have at this time. The party still is a tyrant. Mm-hmm. Where representation is concerned, in all the camps, in P&M camp, in the UNC camp, but I just want to say this, Rennie, just a little slap on the wrist. We were able to review the year without saying that we have a new government and a new opposition.
Mm.
Can you imagine that?
Yes, in the issues we dealt with, I think we actually covered those two areas.
I suppose by inference.
Yes, that's one of the things about having a diverse and distinguished group of folks. Somewhere in the conversation, we will build along the line and cover it. But of course, we will be getting back together with you and all our panelists here at different times, individually, as we continue our chat on Sunday morning. Thank you all so
is there a
very
brunch
much.
lined up for us?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it should have been there already. Thank you all so much. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Rennie Bishop. We are on Monday through Friday from 6 until 9 o'clock with the morning show, and we'll be back again next week, Sunday, for another session of Brunch. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. Have yourself a very wonderful Sunday.